Yo, what up, everybody? Casca King here with another video, and there's no real way to go around it, so I'm just gonna say it. Today, we're gonna be talking about 9/11. I'm not gonna talk about any conspiracy theories. I'm not gonna make any fucking shitty meme bullshit, fucking memes. I fucking hate them. And I'm just gonna tell you guys about what I remember that day and what came after. A lot of people watching this video, might have been there, might have remembered seeing it on TV. Some of you, or probably a lot of you, watching this video, probably wasn't even born yet. And I don't know, just it was a weird time. So let's get to it. The morning of September 11th, 2001. I believe it was a hot day in Florida, and I really didn't want to go to school because school was hell for me. I hated it very much, and I was in the fourth grade, good old fourth grade. Anyway, I get to school, and everything's normal. Doing your maths and that, and writing and whatnot. Uh, what subject were we in the middle of? I want to say we were in the middle of reading when it happened. There was a big announcement through the entire school. It was the principal telling everyone that they need to turn the TVs on. They need to do it now. Something's going on. Which this had never happened before, ever in school. And they're like, you need to turn it to the news, which especially didn't happen because anytime we ever turned the TVs on, it was really only for the morning announcements, which I was actually part of. And in fact, I didn't even know those TVs had other channels. To be honest, I thought they only had one channel. And I don't know, they said to turn on the news, and it was important that everybody had to do it now. So the teacher goes over, turns on the TV, turns to the news, and we see the Twin Towers, well, one of the towers, burning, covered in smoke and shit. The first plane had already hit, and it was crazy. You could hear people screaming. They were talking to people in the streets, and I mean, they didn't have any camera crews on the street. They were talking to people over the phones, which were really bad at the time because cell phones were really shitty back then. And I don't know, we watched for a few minutes, and then everybody saw the second plane hit. And that was fucking insane. And then the news channel, or no, we kept watching for a little while, and the news channel had kind of went out. Apparently, their broadcasting signal was on top of one of the towers, and it stopped working. So then we switched over to another news channel that was covering it. And we kept watching. It felt like we watched for an hour, maybe more. In fact, we may have watched the entire day. I I don't remember doing anything else that day. I don't remember going to music class. I don't remember PE. In fact, for lunch, they wouldn't even let us leave our classrooms because people were freaking out. They thought, if this could happen, what else could happen? So instead of going to the cafeteria for lunch, they brought everybody bagged lunches. And then there was the plane that hit the Pentagon, and they were talking about that, and they were talking about the plane that went down in the field somewhere. And everyone thought for sure that the Statue of Liberty or the White House was next. And we all just kind of waited. Everyone was really anxious, and things were tense. We listened to the president speak, and he just so happened to be here in Florida, though he was not at my school. But we did listen to him speak, and he went back to the White House or something. I'm not 100% sure. And after watching for a bit, the towers collapsed. They just went right fucking down. And you could hear, through the entire school, you could hear people gasping, and teachers crying, and people screaming, and people panicking because some kids had family who worked there in New York, and they were freaking out. I remember at some point some parents started pulling their kids out of school really early. And yeah, that was fucking scary, man. And we all just kind of sat there in shock and watched. It was fucking insane. So at some point it was time to go home, and I went home. I walked home, and it was all over TV. I didn't have cable at the time, and I only had like, I want to say I had 13 channels, and it was on every single channel. Even channels that didn't have any news on them suddenly had news on them. And it was the only thing on TV for a couple days. And I think the next day, I think school was canceled. To be honest, I don't remember going to school the next day. So I think either my mom didn't take me or school was canceled, one of the two. And everybody was anxious. They're thinking, when's the next one, you know? So all this information was coming out, and people were throwing around names. And, it was insane. And then, I mean, how do I put this? People were stuck in their houses. I mean, they weren't physically stuck in their houses, but emotionally, like some people could not stop watching. They would lay on their couches and not go to work or do anything or even eat or just watch what happened because people were so afraid of what was coming next. And people didn't know how to talk about it, you know? And then South Park came out, new episode, and they did the whole Osama episode. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And it taught us that we can't be afraid forever, and that we need to laugh. We need to face this, you know. So slowly things kind of went back to normal, except now people were a lot more aware of things. And as the years went by, a lot of shit happened. They were the French didn't want to help us in the war, so we stopped calling French fries for some fucking stupid reason. I started calling them freedom fries, which I thought was fucking stupid. And then all this horrible country music came out. Oh my god, there was so much of it. And I'm getting ahead of myself. For at least a month or something after the whole attack, they were still pulling people out of the wreckage of the towers. And it took forever to clean up, and they never did find everybody, and a couple of years ago they finally stopped looking through all the wreckage and said they're not going to look through it anymore. And so yeah, a lot of people still missing. Who knows? I mean, for days, cell phones would still be ringing in the rubble, people trying to contact people, and you would hear them too. You wouldn't know where they were. Or at least that's what I heard on the news. And there was just so much information put out on the news. There was so much news all the time. I remember Halloween that year was extremely tense because people thought might be another attack on Halloween or Christmas or Thanksgiving. They were very tense holidays. But again, as the years went by and the war started and they started sending army recruiters to schools and shit, and it was fucking insane. And again, all this horrible country music came out, and the freedom fries and the free speech zones, which were really creepy because they were like fenced-in places where you could say whatever you wanted, and they looked like little prisons, which was really fucking creepy. And then Bush got elected again, and this whole thing continued, and it was fucking insane. And this whole time they were looking for Osama, and they could never find him. And I don't know, just a lot of shit changed that day. So sometimes I sit here and I think, what would the world be like if that didn't happen? You know, how different would the world be? You know, I'd like to imagine it'd be a very different place. There was never a war, so a lot of people would still be alive. Shit would be normal, and I wouldn't know where the fuck or what Iraq or Iran was. In fact, no one really knew what that was. They had to start pointing it out on the map. It's like, where the fuck is that place? I've never heard of that place. And then in 2011, yeah. So 2011, Obama's president, and we find Osama and we kill him. And I remember that day. I hadn't slept in 5 days, so I was a little freaked out already. For whatever reason, I couldn't sleep for 5 full days. And then they said they killed Osama, and I'm thinking, oh god, these people are going to retaliate. What's going to happen next? And then, other stuff happened. So yeah, it took 11 years to find him. Crazy fucking time. fucking insane, I tell you. For months, it was all people could talk about. Oh, 9/11, 9/11, you know, you hear about this and that on the news. And then the whole anthrax thing started happening. People started sending anthrax all over the place. And then people tried to be copycats. I remember here in Florida, some guy flew a single-engine plane into a bank. And shit like that. And it was just fucking insane. And the whole time, the last 15 years, our society has been developing, you know, technologically so much. It's been crazy. I mean, in 2001, a cell phone was fucking as big as this fucking can and was a piece of shit. Now we've got fucking phones like this, and they're fucking thin, and they go on the internet, which was barely a thing back in 2001. Most companies barely even had a website. And just so much shit has changed since that day. And it bugs the shit out of me that I'll never know what the world would be like if that had never happened. I'd like to think the world would be a better place, more peaceful. People would fight with each other less, you know? And, I don't know, it's just crazy to me, this whole thing. It's insane. And it really pisses me off when fucking stupid, wannabe edgy teenagers makes memes out of this shit. I mean, if you had done that fucking 15 years ago, people would have beat the shit out of you, alright? But I guess it's like the Titanic, you know? Like 100 years later, people are making a movie out of it, and there's a bouncy castle that looks like the Titanic, and people make jokes about it, so fucking 100 years from now, I'm sure there'll be movies and bouncy castles and fuck knows what else. A weird thing, too, is that for whatever reason, a lot of movies decided to edit out the towers from their movies. Which I thought was really weird. Like, why would you edit them out? And I know the Spider-Man movie was coming out around that time. And they had this ad where Spider-Man webs up a helicopter between the towers. And that got pulled for sure. And I remember in comics that it was either Batman or Superman. Somebody had just flown a plane into the towers. Or into a giant tall building or something equivalent to the towers in the comic books. So the next issue came out, everyone was all patriotic. The heroes and the villains were working together and saying, how could something so terrible happen or something? I can't remember all of it, but it is online if you want to find it yourself. But yeah, this past 15 years has been a trip. And that's probably going to be one of the biggest events in my lifetime, you know? Or at least it was like the first that I can remember. I mean, I guess Y2K was kind of an event, but nothing happened, you know? So much shit has happened. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I remember, unless there's something I'm forgetting. Yep. I mean, the footage, all the footage from different news channels are on YouTube, and it's really weird seeing what was going on in the news right before all this happened. I think one station was talking about some author and his fucking book or something before they cut away to this. And it was crazy. So, you know, I've been thinking about this a lot, and you know, it's probably one of the biggest events in my lifetime, my generation. And I wanted to get something for the shelf for this event. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, Casket, it's supposed to be the happy shelf. Does 9/11 make you happy? No. No, it does not. The shelf, it's more of a memory shelf at this point. It helps me remember things. And I thought, you know, I should get something for that moment in time, you know? Yeah. So I found this little bronze statue. It's also a pencil sharpener of the Twin Towers. And I'm putting this on the shelf because probably 9/11 was probably one of the biggest events in my lifetime. And it may be the biggest, unless something worse happens in the future, you know? So this is going on the shelf. To remember that day and all the shit that happened and all the shit that came after. And that's pretty much it. Oh, one other thing. I read online that this year is going to be the first year that 9/11 is actually going to be in textbooks and is going to be taught as factual history, which blows my mind because I've never lived through something and then it be put in a textbook somewhere. So I think they're going to be teaching at the middle school or high school. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, it will be taught as an actual history lesson, which again really blows my fucking mind. Yep. Well, that's going to be it for today's video. Um, Another video is probably coming soon. I'm filming this way in advance right now. So, yeah. In fact, I'm going to tell you the date just to date this video. Today is September 5th. Not that far away. So, I mean, when you're watching this, it's not going to be September 5th. It's going to be, 2016 and September 11th and whatnot. Unless you're watching it after that date, then I don't know. But yeah, I'll see you guys next video. Stay awesome, and I'll see you guys next video. Bye.